Okay. Good evening and welcome to Boulevard's Christmas baking. We're here in our amazing Thermador kitchen. And I'm Lindsay. I'm one of the buyers here at the Boulevard and also a designer.
I'm Quentin. I'm her son.
So, yeah, I've got my son here helping. And so when we decided to do this class tonight, we thought what would be funner than doing some awesome holiday baking. And one of my favorite things to make is these delicious orange creams. Now, I only make them once a year because it keeps it special and they're so easy to make and beyond delicious. So you guys are all going to get to try some when we're done. So, but I don't know if you can see just how yummy these look. I'll just kind of show you guys without me dumping them on the counter. So anyway, this is a really easy recipe. Doesn't take very long to make at all. And so I'm going to show you how we're going to do it. So we're going to get started. So I like to use the Bosch when I can, just because it saves all the mixing and stirring. But this recipe is really simple and it can actually be done. You can actually mix it by hand as well. So if you don't have a big mixer, no worries, you can totally do this by hand. So to get started, you're going to do room temperature cream cheese. So pop that in the machine there, Quentin. So there we go, awesome job. And this may seem weird. So now this is, I have never shared this recipe, ever. Never. So this is a first for me. I'm like, oh, sharing this like top secret yummy recipe. But one of the ingredients is orange Kool-Aid. So go ahead and open that and we're going to put that in. So we've got cream cheese and then the full packet of just the orange Kool-Aid. And then get all of that out there. Just like these little packets. There we go. And you wouldn't think orange Kool-Aid, but trust me on this. And then you just want to get that well blended together. So, and again, like I say, you can do it by hand really easy. But this mixes really well. So I'm just going to, so all you guys can see. So you just want a nice creamy consistency. So super easy. So we've got our cream cheese and our Kool-Aid in there. And the great thing with this recipe too, you can adapt it to different flavors. You can do a strawberry filling, any kind of variety that you want to do. Vanilla, you could do lemon creams. My favorite's the orange, and that's what we're making tonight. So now this is the other secret ingredient. We're actually going to put marmalade. But now I don't like the chunks in it. So what I like to do is I just have like a tiny little sieve. And you're going to use about 3/4 of a jar of marmalade. And with the sieve, now if you like the orangey chunks, you can just leave it as is. But I just kind of set this on here. And if you just pop it in, and then you just kind of squish it around, but then you get the yummy bits without all the chunks. And like I said, you can do strawberry, coconut, vanilla, you could do apricot, and then you would just substitute the marmalade for a jam, but you don't want to have chunks of fruit. And then we'll just get that out. And like I say, you're going to want to use about 3/4 of a jar. You want to do that one, Quinn? So who here have you ever done homemade chocolates before? Anyone? So what flavor have you done?
Well, we just do, so our Christmas is Gophers, so we do peanut butter and chocolate. So since I don't do anything ever, that's how we do.
So So we've had someone do, so it's called a gopher. So sounds yummy. So that's peanut butter and chocolate. I mean, yum. So I know, so somebody asked when I brought these in this morning, like, oh, is it peanut butter? I'm like, nope, it's orange. So, well, I can tell you, once you've tried these, you're going to go home, get the ingredients, and you're going to want to make them. And these are great. You can give them out as neighbor gifts. You can get the cute, you know, I just did these on a tray with the little paper cups. But you can get, at any like craft store, they sell little boxes that you can put a few chocolates in, so they make great little neighbor gifts, or, you know, for colleagues or friends. How we doing there? So, and let's see. So we just kind of pop this in, and this is probably the most time-consuming part, but for me, I think it's well worth just taking that little bit of extra time and, you know, sieving through it. Let me get that. Okay, do you want to turn that on to just number 1, and we'll start mixing it. I wish you guys could smell how yummy this is smelling. Can you smell it? And you know, if you get a few little bits in there, it's not the end of the world, but like I say, you want to use about 3/4 of a jar. So I think this, with what we used out of the other jar, should be about it. What do you think, Quentin?
Looks good.
Smell how yummy that is. Quentin is taking a cooking class in school, so he's becoming quite the little master chef around our house. So, so when I said, you want to come help me tonight, he's like, heck yes. There we go. And then if you are using a mixer, you want to kind of scrape down the sides. So again, just to show you kind of that stage. So you can see how you putting the marmalade in. So it gives you a really nice texture. And then what I like to do, because we want it to mix really well, is we just scrape down the edges and the bottoms and just make sure that we get everything really well mixed. And if you do this by hand, you'll just have some really good muscles at the end. There we go. So once we've given that a good mix and it's a nice creamy consistency, we're going to add our powdered sugar. So this is, I mean, very, very few ingredients, but absolutely delicious. So for those that came in late, we've got a package of room temperature cream cheese, a package of orange Kool-Aid, and then 3/4 of a jar of marmalade. And then it's going to take about 4 pounds of powdered sugar. So what I do, and this is one of the reasons it's nice to do it in a mixer. So you want to just add your powdered sugar just a little bit at a time, because I've done some batches where it's taken the whole 4 pounds, and in other batches it's a little bit less. So it just kind of gauges on how much marmalade that you've used in there. So I'm just going to pop a little bit in there, and then we want to put the lid on. And so you're going to mix in your powdered sugar, and you want it to almost be the consistency of Play-Doh. So that's kind of how you're wanting it to end up. And we'll just add a little bit more. And I'll show you after it's blended in this one bag, so you can see still how you'll need a little bit more powdered sugar than just the 2 pounds. And this makes a really good sized batch, so plenty to have for yourself and share. So So if you can look now, so what we've got, so this is really still too wet. I mean, it's nice and creamy, the color's great, but we need it to be, so it's going to be sticky, but it's not going to be wet. So if it feels kind of like children's Play-Doh, you're spot on. So we're actually making chocolate covered orange creams. So you'll get to try some in a little bit. And then we're just going to add, and I've got the cookie beaters on this, and once it gets I can probably do a little bit more with these, but once it gets a little bit harder, we can actually move to a dough hook, or we can pop it in the bowl and do it by hand for the last little bit. There's a reason you put the lid on, because I'm just making sure you were all paying attention. Okay, so probably what I want to do now is just switch hooks. If I can maybe get these out. So you can see, so we're really close to having the right consistency. And in fact, maybe what we'll do the rest by hand. And then that way you can really get a feel. And you know, sometimes I even end up just mixing it with my hands, so you can really get the texture and how it needs to be. So it's definitely a hands-on, but we're really close with the consistency that we've got here. Let's pop these over here. Can you get that one out? Thanks. So what I like to do, and you know, it's just really been a trial and error. So when I'm doing the chocolate, I actually like to melt it in the microwave. You can do, I know there's lots of different methods that you can do. The microwave method is a lot quicker, and it's really easy. And what I found works really well is, so I use just the almond bark. So you want to use half a package of almond bark, the milk chocolate, to 1 full package of milk chocolate chips. That will give you a great consistency. It'll be absolutely delicious. You can use the semi-sweet or the milk. So I use the milk, and just with the orange, it's just a really good flavor. And I will be sharing on our blog the recipe and instructions, so you'll be able to make these. So will you take my ring off? There we go. Okay, pop it in your pocket. Oh, wear it, that works. So then we're just going to mix this kind of in. And like I say, once you get to a certain point, it's just like kneading bread, and you're just going to be hands-on. But then that really helps you not get it too dry. If you do get it too dry, you can add a little more marmalade, or just a few, like a half a teaspoon at a time of water. But we are very, very close. So do you want to be mixing that? So we'll start melting our chocolate. So in here, I've got the almond bark. So we've just chopped it up so that it saves a little bit, of time, and it will melt a lot quicker. Now, if you're doing it in the microwave, what I suggest doing is you want to do it in 30-second increments. And that's going to give you the best outcome without burning the chocolate. So I've got half a package of almond bark, a full packet of milk chocolate chips, and then I have to remember how to use this fancy microwave. So it's a drawer. So we're going to pop that in there. How's that coming? Okay, so we're just going to add just a little more. And you really just a little bit at a time, blend it in. So it's going to be soft and, really, Play-Doh is exactly the texture that you want. So with the chocolate, I do it in 30-second increments, and you want to leave it for about 30 seconds in between, because the chocolate's going to warm up and it's going to keep being warm. So if you do it, and it's only going to take about 1.5 to 2 minutes max, depending on your microwave. But you'll find if you leave it sit and then stir it, do another 30 seconds, leave it, you'll get it just right. It won't burn, it won't singe the edges, and it'll be perfect for dipping. How are we looking there? So awesome, I think we are about there. So you can see how it's looking more and more kind of like a dough. So you get some good muscles there. We'll just do a little more. Let's see. Just going to wash this really fast so we can stir the chocolate. And of course you can do it over the stovetop if you prefer. If you're doing it over the stovetop, if you don't have a stove that has a very, very low light, I would recommend doing it over water. So just use a glass bowl and put your chocolate in the glass bowl, and then the glass bowl in the hot water, and melt it that way, because nothing's worse than melted burned chocolate. So you can see the edges are already starting to melt. So I just kind of mix it up. Quentin's got that, that's looking awesome. And Pop that on again. Okay, so I think we need just a little bit more here. Let's see. Yep, just a smidgen more. And it's always better with this to do, little bits at a time and add more than to get too much sugar, powdered sugar in and it's too dry and then you're trying to smooth it back out. So, okay, you can mix that one. Now, another tip that you can also do when you're making chocolates, I like to put my pans in the freezer. And the reason that I do that is I just get a cookie sheet, put some parchment paper on it and put it in the freezer. That works really, really well. And then when you're molding these into the shapes, it really helps it set up, and then I actually put it back in the freezer for a few minutes before I dip them in the chocolate. So we're getting close. There we go. Let's see. So now we can see from this that we're still a little bit too wet, because it's still sticking to the sides. So we want just a little bit more. You got some more muscle? I did tell him I'd give him all the fun jobs, so. All right. Oh, thanks, honey. He said dishes is next. Well, having a house full of little men, you've got to teach them to cook and bake. So, okay, we'll get that one. Their wives will thank me in a few years. So, now we're about to this consistency on the chocolate, and we're just going to let this sit because our bowl is nice and warm, our chocolate is, and it will continue to melt as it just sits and we stir. And like I say, we don't want to over warm it. So we get this. So we're going to let that sit for just a minute. Okay. All right, looks perfect. Good job. So what you want to do then is to mold your chocolate. And so I've just got a cookie sheet lined with parchment paper, and you're just going to take and mold little balls. And this is still a little bit soft. It'll be fine. It'll just mean when it's dipped, it'll just give you kind of a creamier filling. So again, you can play with it, how you like it. So you're just going to do your shapes, and I'll just do a few, because magically I have some I made earlier. So this is going to fill about 2.5 to 3 cookie sheets of candies. So we're going to put this aside so you don't all have to sit and watch me roll out 5,000 candies. Let me wash my hands again. Okay, so can you get out of the freezer? The bottom one. Thank you. So here's some we made earlier. So all we do, and this is really easy, so these are in the freezer, so it's nice and cold and how it should be. So I'm just gonna actually move these off. So I don't make them too big. You know, you can do them smaller, you can do them bigger. I mean, just however you want to do them. But this is what they're going to look like. Now, these freeze really well. So if you want to do a big batch and put some away, you know, for New Year or, you know, for birthdays or special occasions, you can do a big batch all at once. You can freeze them without the chocolate on, or you can freeze them with the chocolate on. And they freeze great either way. I've had some when I've made them in my freezer for, you know, 4 to 6 months, and they've tasted as good as if I made them that day. So our chocolate is nice and melted, and we've got a nice, just smooth consistency, nice and thick, perfect for dipping. And all we're going to do, so I just want to put one in, get it nice and covered. And so this is just for basically dipping chocolates, and it just really makes them, and then they stick on the paper. So you can use a fork. I've used a toothpick. You can just push a toothpick in it and, you know, roll it in and then just push it off with another toothpick. So you don't have to have this. Any baking or craft or kitchen store, you know, will have these. But it just makes it so it's not quite as messy as it could be if, you know, otherwise. And then you just dip them and put them on the parchment paper. And then the nice thing with this, you can, you know, put them in the little containers like we've done, or you can freeze them, or, you know, you can eat them right away. But on the cold pan and where they're frozen, the chocolate sets up really, really quickly. And so it helps them not get the big glob at the bottom. It usually, I'll be honest, takes me about dipping about 10 to master the consistency of the chocolate, so they're a little cleaner on the pan. But, you know, you just, you know, you can roll them, and you can do, you know, some people like to do, like, you could do a white chocolate and do a drizzle over it afterwards, make them real decorative, or I just like them simple and easy like this. So do you want to go hand them out? Because I'm sure you're all dying to try one, right? And anyway, we just get these dipped, and they are yummy. So we'll have the recipe for this on our blog. So just boulevardhomefurnishings.com. In the middle of the page, you'll see our blog spot. And you can just go on there. We've got great tips, ideas, our decorating classes. And of course, the link will be on our Facebook page. So what do you guys think? Wow. So we get a thumbs up? Awesome. Well, we're excited that you guys could come and watch me almost make a mess in our kitchen. But these are just fun and easy and something simple that you can, again, have the kids help. So this is just a fun little tradition that we enjoy in our family. And